What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. This is my full card breakdown and prediction video for UFC 300. We got Alex Pereira going against Jamahal Hill.
I need all the wins, yeah. Harder than all that is. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out.
And we are back for another full card breakdown and prediction video this week. A very special breakdown in UFC 300, which on paper has potential to honestly be one of the greatest cards of all time. This card is extremely stacked. We have 3 titles on the line. We got Alex Pereira, Jamahal Hill for the light heavyweight championship, Zhang Weili, Jalin for the strawweight championship, and then Justin Gaethje, Max Holloway for the BMF title on the line. And what is fight of the year candidate. We have these stacked prelims. I mean, you know, it's a stacked card when we're kicking off the night with Deiveson, Figueiredo, Cody, Garbrandt, 2 former champions. And then on the prelims, we got Jalin Turner, Renato, Moicano in fight of the year candidate. Like, this card is incredible. It's stacked. It's a card that I've had circled. I'm sure you guys have had circled. It's a card that I've dug into early, hence why I'm getting the breakdown out early here. So yeah, really looking forward to digging into all these fights. Have a couple bets already for UFC 300, and it's going to be my biggest card of the year for sure from a betting perspective. A lot of spots sticking out. Before we get into it, if you guys could please do me a couple favors, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Getting really close to 25,000 subscribers, which would be an incredible milestone. If you guys do enjoy the content and watch the content, if you guys could please subscribe, it is much appreciated. And then, since it is a pay-per-view card and a big card, going to be doing the significant strike contest as always, but with a little twist. Since it is a big card, going to twist it up a little bit. So what we're going to do is, like always, comment down how many significant strikes you think that Alex Pereira and Jamahal Hill are going to combine for. And then I'm giving prizes away to the top 3 people who are the closest, $25 to first. But if you do hit it on the dot, I'm going to not only double it up to 50, but throw in a free t-shirt as well. So comment down those significant strikes. It's going to go to the top 3 which are closest. And again, if you hit it on the dot, which somebody did last time for $2.99, the price is going to double. On top of that, throwing in a t-shirt. So yeah, be sure to comment those down. I do want to shout out Prize Picks. This video is brought to you by Prize Picks, and if you guys have not signed up on Prize Picks, this is the week. Do it, because we have a crazy promo here. Justin Gaethje to get more than 0.5 significant strikes. So, I mean, the only way this doesn't hit is, I don't know, like, Justin Gaethje gets knocked out by 1 punch from Max. Like, it's going to hit. It's a free square. Add it to your Prize Picks plays this week. I'll be breaking down Prize Picks this week as well. I'll do a video later in the week. But if you guys have not signed up for Prize Picks, now's a great time. This is about as free of a square as you're ever going to get. Promo code is DFSBTN. If you guys use that promo code, you'll get a 100% deposit match up to $100. So go get your free square. Go get that free deposit match as well. And check out Prize Picks. Also, if you guys want to support me more, or if you want extra content, be sure to check out DFSbythenumbers.com. On there, I'm doing a Prize Picks article. Prize Picks has been hot lately. Do a Prize Picks entry as well. And then the full card best bet article, where I break down all the fights, give my predictions, the round, the method, the confidence ratings, and the best bets. That'll be out extra early this week. I'm going to start on it today, as in Saturday, and then hoping to get that out by like Monday, which is crazy because I typically get it out Wednesday or Thursday. So getting that out early, and just all the other content like the stats you see on the Friday, Saturday shows, and it's just the best way to support me overall. But yeah, guys, with all that out of the way, I say we get into it. And let's start off with an absolute banger. And every fight on this card is an absolute banger. Like, my least favorite fight on the card, I guess, I don't know. I can't pick one. I literally can't pick one. That's how you know this card is great. Like, we're not talking Jermaine Durand, Norman Dumont here. We're talking some great fights for this card. So we're going to kick it off with Deiveson Figueiredo going against Cody Garbrandt. We got Deiveson Figueiredo. He's 36 years old, 5'5", with a 68-inch reach. He is 22-3-1 and 2-2-1 in his last 5 fights. Cody Garbrandt, he's 32 years old, 5'8", with a 65.5-inch reach, 14-5 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds. To my surprise, Deiveson Figueiredo opened up minus 300. He's currently minus 290. Cody Garbrandt opened up as a plus 250 underdog. He's currently plus 245. I was not expecting to see, odds that wide, but let's talk about it. So I was looking into the kind of the career of Cody Garbrandt. Obviously, he had that memorable performance against Dominic Cruz back in 2016, but since then, Since then, he has only won 3 fights. And again, that was back in 2016 in that Dominic Cruz fight. It feels like yesterday, but it was a long time ago, 8 years ago. Since then, 3 wins. Here are the wins. Rafael Assunção, Trevin Jones, who got cut, and Brian Keller. Those are the 3 wins since that Dominic Cruz fight a long time ago, right? And even in those fights, it's like the Assunção fight was very lackluster up until he landed that shot with a second left, right? He landed only 19 significant strikes in about 10 minutes of fight time against Trevin Jones. I was at that fight. People were booing Cody Garbrandt. People were booing both Garbrandt and Jones, I imagine. It was the worst fight I've ever seen, but I was loving it because I had a Cody Garbrandt by decision ticket. I'm like, yes, Cody, do nothing. Don't get hit in the face. And he was able to cash me a nice decision ticket. But yeah, people were booing, and he only landed 26 strikes in 15 minutes. And then in the Brian Kelleher fight, went out there and starched Brian Kelleher, who's 40 years old. So yeah, those wins don't really tell me much. If he's able to go out there and beat Figgy, it's going to be his best win since like a Dominic Cruz back in 2016. So yeah, it's an interesting matchup in that aspect of things. Deiveson Figueiredo, of course, came up to bantamweight last fight against Rob Font. There were question marks. How's he going to look? All that, and he looked good. He did implement some wrestling in there. Got 4 takedowns. I don't think that's going to be on the table here against Cody Garbrandt. Cody Garbrandt has elite defensive wrestling. I think we're going to get a fight that takes place on the feet, and when we do, I think it's going to be a close fight. A close fight, close and competitive fight, minute for minute, strike for strike. It's going to be close, but there's one major issue here, and that is the durability of Cody Garbrandt. This guy just can't seem to take a shot. He's been knocked out time and time again, and he's going against Deiveson Figueiredo, who at flyweight had a ton of power, and at bantamweight, he still has power. He showed that against Rob Font. He hurt Rob Font on multiple occasions, and the difference between Rob Font and Cody Garbrandt is Rob Font gets hurt a lot, but his recoverability is some of the best in the game. Cody Garbrandt gets hurt a lot, and he goes into like psycho mode and just gets knocked out. I mean, it's happened time and time again with Cody Garbrandt. The chin is a big issue. So although I think this fight could look very competitive, it's just for how long, how long until Figgy's able to land a big shot. And once he does land that big shot, I think it's probably lights out. So I'm going Deiveson Figueiredo here to kick off the night. I'm going to take Deiveson Figueiredo to win this fight by second round knockout. Moving on, we got Bobby Green going against Jim Miller. Really looking forward to this one. We got Bobby Green, who's 37 years old, 5'10", with a 71-inch reach, 31-15-1, and 2-2-1 no contest in his last 5 fights. Jim Miller, 40 years old, 5'8", with a 71-inch reach, 37-17, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. So this fight actually opened up a pick'em. A lot of fights on this card opened up a pick'em, and Bobby Green's currently a -175 favorite, and Jim Miller is a +150 underdog. So this is an interesting fight. Jim Miller is 40 years old, but I'm not joking when I say this. I think Jim Miller is like in his prime, it feels like. I mean, Jim Miller has been looking incredible in the latter half of his career. There was one point with Jim Miller, a couple years ago where he was just like first round or bust. If he does not get the win in the first round, he's going to lose. I think there was like an 8-win streak and 8 wins in a row for Jim Miller, all in the first round. If he doesn't get the first round finish, he loses the fight. But since then, since becoming 37, 38, 39, 40 years old, he's going out there and showing, hey, I can not only win in the first round, but I can win in the second round. I can win in the third round as well. Got a nice third round finish against Gabriel Benitez, which I think was his first third round finish thus far in the UFC. So, Jim Miller is coming along at 40 years old, which is just crazy to say, but it's true. This guy's still next level durable. His striking's, much improved throughout his career, and he's always had that legit BJJ black belt to go along with it. He's a problem. He's dangerous everywhere. Bobby Green is a very good fighter. He's getting up there in age, though, right? Like, he's 37 years old. He's taken a ton of damage, and speaking of damage, Bobby Green was on the wrong end of probably the worst stoppage I've ever seen, and I've seen some terrible stoppages, but I think it was Kerry Hatley. So Jalen Turner floors Bobby Green in the first round. The fight probably should have been stopped there. Lands a couple of follow-up shots on the mat. Bobby Green goes out cold after had to been 20 to 30, just nasty ground and pound shots. Bobby Green was covering up. The fight was over. I mean, the fight should have been stopped. And then he goes out, and then he And then he continues to land some more ground and pound on Bobby out cold. And then finally, Kerry Hatley stops the fight. Like, that was probably one of the worst stoppages I've ever seen. And that fight wasn't too long ago, like a couple months ago. That was late last year. So, you know, how's Bobby Green going to look after that fight? Like, that is life-changing damage. And then, you know, prior to that, he got knocked out cold by Drew Dober. He wasn't looking too good against Jared Gordon up until he hurts Jared Gordon with the headbutt. And then even against, you know, Tony Ferguson hurt Bobby Green, it looked like, in the first round. So I'm starting to worry about the durability of Bobby Green, which is crazy to say because this guy's always been durable. But after taking damage like that, I'm not sure. Whereas Jim Miller, 40 years old, he's taken some damage, but he is next level durable. And I have no reason to believe why, you know, I have no reason to believe that Jim Miller's durability is waning at all. So, you know, skill for skill, I think Bobby Green's a very good striker. I love the volume. I love the hands down style. I really do. It's just, you know, that has been getting him into some trouble. That hands low style against these hard hitters, and Jim Miller hits hard. He has a lot of power. So I feel like Bobby Green can definitely win some minutes here on the feet, but I think Miller catches him here. I think Miller lands a big shot. He's going to have 15 minutes to do it. I don't think this fight hits the ground, but if it does, Jim Miller has the advantage there. He's incredible on the mat, but I think we're going to get a fight that takes place on the feet. I think Bobby's probably going to look good, and I think Jim Miller lands a big shot and knocks down Bobby Green and gets the club and sub. So I'm taking Jim Miller here. I'm worried about Bobby Green. I'm worried about the durability at this point, whereas with Jim Miller, I would never question his durability. So I'm taking Jim Miller, taking the upset here. Jim Miller by second round submission. Moving on, we have a fight in the strawweight division. We got Jessica Andrade going against Marina Rodriguez. We got Andrade, 32 years old, 5'1" with a 62-inch reach, 25-12 and 2-3 in her last 5 fights. Marina Rodriguez, 36 years old, 5'6" with a 65-inch reach, 17-3-2 and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Another fight that opened up a pick'em, I believe. Minus 110 each way. And then now Jessica Andrade is minus 125. Marina Rodriguez is plus 105. So I thought initially that maybe Jessica Andrade can come out here and maybe get takedowns, but that's not really her game, especially as of late. Like, Jessica Andrade, does she have some wrestling in her back pocket? Sure, but it's not really something she's done. Jessica Andrade, only 3 takedowns in her last 10 fights. Like, I don't like to see that, because when you look at Marina Rodriguez, the only time she's really looked bad in the UFC is when fighters are taking her down. She had that draw against Randa Marcos. Marcos was able to rack up a couple takedowns, a lot of control time. She had that draw against Cynthia Calvillo. Cynthia Calvillo was able to rack up 3 takedowns, some control time. She lost to Carla Esparza. Esparza was able to rack up 5 takedowns, a ton of control time, and then she just had a loss against Verna Jandiroba. You see where I'm getting at? Verna controlled her for like 15 minutes just about of that fight. So that's not really Andrade's game, though. Andrade wants to pressure forward with her striking and land big shots, and I'm not sure if that's going to work against Marina Rodriguez. Like, you know, Jessica Andrade, I'm a big fan of her. I'm probably Jessica Andrade's biggest fan. And I was thinking she was like done prior to the Dern fight. I was thinking she was on her way out. I was thinking we might not see much more of Jessica Andrade. She was on a 3-fight skid, looking terrible in all 3 of those fights, you know, getting finished by Blanchfield, Yan Xiaonan, and Tatiana Suarez. It was not a great look. And then, you know, she was a big dog against Mackenzie Dern, a big underdog. You know, a lot of people were on Dern, including myself. And she goes out there and beats the brakes off of Mackenzie Dern, which is great. It's a great win. It's just, this matchup couldn't be any different. You know, this matchup couldn't be any different than that Dern fight. So, you know, it wasn't too long ago where Jessica Andrade was going strike for strike with Erin Blanchfield, right? So I think Marina Rodriguez, she's an incredible striker, one of the best strikers in the division. Her ground game's not great, but I'm not sure if that's going to matter here. I think both these girls are going to throw down. I think somebody's probably honestly getting served here, but I think that somebody might be Jessica Andrade. Andrade, I question her durability. Andrade has been finished 9 times. 9 times. A lot of those coming in the UFC as well. Marina Rodriguez, she has a lot of power. I like the knees, the elbows. I think Rodriguez is more defensively sound, and I think Andrade is going to walk in on something here. So I think it's going to be a chaotic fight. I think it's going to be a fun fight, but I'm kind of liking Rodriguez here to get a knockout, maybe with a big knee, a big elbow, but I think Andrade walks into something here. Give me Marina Rodriguez to win this fight and win it by first-round knockout. Moving on, we have probably my favorite fight of the prelims here. We got Jalin Turner going against Renato Moicano. We got Jalin Turner, 28 years old, 6'3" with a 75.5-inch reach, 14-7, and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Renato Moicano, 34 years old, 5'11", with a 72-inch reach, 18-5-1, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Jalin Turner opening up -250, currently -235. Renato Moicano opening up +210, currently +200. And yeah, this fight's awesome. I'm a big fan of both guys. How can you not be? Both these guys are so exciting. You know, Renato Moicano with that incredible ground game was able to go out there and get a nice win against Drew Dober. And then Jalin Turner is just an absolute killer, 100% finish rate. When he wins fights, he's winning them violently, and he's winning them by finish. And I think it's a tough matchup here for Moicano. I mean, not only is he going to be 6 years older, but he's going to be at a 4-inch height disadvantage. He's going to be at a 3.5-inch reach disadvantage, just a size disadvantage in general. I mean, Jalin Turner is massive for lightweight. Not sure how he makes lightweight, but he does it. I think he's only missed weight once, and it was in that Dan Hooker fight. And what's the game plan here for Moicano gotta be? It's gotta be get the fight down to the mat, but we see in a lot of Moicano fights, he kind of falls in love with his hands a little bit. And even if he does try to get the fight down to the mat here, I think it's going to be easier said than done with Turner, who has very good takedown defense. I mean, that fight against Mateusz Gamrot, he lost that fight. I mean, he won the fight, but the judges just scored it completely wrong. If we're scoring damage over control, Jalin Turner won that fight because Jalin Turner hurt Gamrot in every single round. Everything that Jalin Turner landed against Gamrot hurt Gamrot, but Gamrot was able to go out there and get 4 takedowns, some control time. I thought it was a pretty rough decision, especially this day and age where they're really scoring damage over control. Jalin Turner was the only guy to do damage in that matchup. So, his takedown defense looked really good against Gamrot. The last time he got wrestled was against Matt Frevola back in 2019. I think his takedown defense has improved since then, but even then was able to stuff the majority of takedowns from Matt Frevola. Frevola was 4 for 13, 30% on takedowns. So I just think Moicano is going to struggle to get this fight down to the mat and on the feet, although I do like the striking of Moicano. He's been cracked before. He's been cracked a lot. RDA cracked him multiple times. RDA probably should have finished him, but the ref didn't stop it for some reason. Fiziev knocked him out. Korean Zombie knocked him out. Jose Aldo knocked him out. He's been hurt. He's been cracked. And like I said, Jalin Turner has like the death touch. I mean, this guy, it doesn't really look like he hits hard, but anything that lands, he's getting reactions out of guys. He's wobbling guys. He's hurting guys. There's a reason he has a 100% finish rate. Jalin Turner is an absolute problem on the feet. So I think he knocks out Moicano here, and I think it's probably early as well. Give me Jalin Turner to win this fight by first-round knockout. Moving on, we have Diego Lopes going against Sodiq Yusuff. We got Diego Lopes, 29 years old, 5'11", with a 72.5-inch reach, 23-6 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Sodiq Yusuff, he's 30 years old, 5'9", with a 71-inch reach, 13-3 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds. We have Diego Lopes as the slight favorite. Opened up -170, is currently -130. Sodiq Yusuff opened up +145, he's currently +110, and I expect this line to probably keep coming down, if not flip. I think Sodiq Yusuff is going to be a very popular bet this week, as was Pat Sabatini against Lopes, and as was Gavin Tucker against Lopes. I mean, people just want to keep fading Diego Lopes. I'm not sure what it is. But at the same time, I mean, I could kind of see why, because you do take a look at Diego Lopes, like the Joe Anderson-Brito fight on the Contender Series, it wasn't a great look. And a lot of these other fights outside the UFC, he's getting taken down, he's losing striking exchanges. But I think what people aren't really taking into account is that, fighters can improve. And Diego Lopes looks to have made a ton of improvements. This guy is only 29 years old, and that's certainly to be expected. And I just think this guy's like different, man. Like Diego Lopes, he's a guy that has extreme heart, extreme toughness. Is he hittable? Yes, very hittable. Is he the best striker? No, not really. Can he get taken down? Yeah, he has no takedown defense. Can he lose minutes off his back? Certainly. It's just he always seems to find a way to win. He always seems to find a way to land that big shot, and that's why I picked him against Pat Sabatini. A lot of people were on Pat Sabatini, and rightfully so. Sabatini had a clear path to victory. We've seen Lopes taken down. Sabatini being a black belt, I just thought to myself, Lopes is going to have 15 minutes to land a big shot or to catch Sabatini on the mat potentially, and it took him 2 minutes. It took him 2 minutes to land that big shot and knock out Sabatini. Gavin Tucker, in theory, yeah, he's a black belt in BJJ. He's going to have the striking advantage, but I picked Lopes because I thought, hey, Lopes is going to have 15 minutes to land a big shot or catch him in a submission, and he did it in about a minute. So it's like, yeah, could Sodiq Yusuff go out there outstrike Lopes across 15 minutes, maybe even knock him out. Maybe. I just feel like, Lopes is going to land a big shot at some point because Lopes has a ton of power. When we've seen Yusuff hurt multiple times in the UFC. Yusuff got hurt bad against Barbosa, bad against Arnold Allen, which are great strikers. It's just, Lopes, he does hit hard. And if this fight does hit the mat, it's his world, whether he's, getting takedowns or off his back. And it looks like he has improved that wrestling even as well. So I'm going to go with Lopes here. It's weird. Like, I don't know how he's going to do it, but I know he's going to do it, if you know what I mean. I think he's going to land a big shot at some point and potentially get Yusuff out of there. I'll say knockout, could be sell, but I'll say Lopes inside the distance here in the first or second round. Moving on, we have a bantamweight fight. Kayla Harrison going against Holm. We got Kayla Harrison, 33 years old, 5'8", with a 66-inch reach, 16-1 and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. Holm, 42 years old, 5'8" with a 69-inch reach, 15-6 and 3-1 and 1 no contest in her last 5 fights. Kayla Harrison opened up minus 375, currently minus 460. And Holm opened up plus 310, currently plus 360. And this is a simple fight to break down. Very simple. Like, I guess the hardest part to break down here is whether or not, Kayla Harrison makes this weight class, because she is huge. She's primarily fought at lightweight. She does have one fight that I saw at featherweight in Invicta back in like 2019, a long time ago. And then she was actually supposed to fight, I think, Julia Budd at featherweight as well. That fight got canceled. So we've seen her at featherweight before, but bantamweight, never. But, judging by her Instagram, she looks very lean. It looks like she's probably on pace to make weight here. But again, that's Instagram. We're going to see her on Friday. With all that said, if Kayla Harrison shows up and she makes the bantamweight limit, or if she shows up and misses weight and the fight's still on, it's just hard not to pick her here. I mean, it's just hard to not see Kayla Harrison get a hold of Holm, take her down to the mat, and lay on top of her for 15 minutes. Holm is 42 years old, one of the oldest fighters on the roster. It should be Kayla Harrison here. Kayla Harrison so physically strong, but we haven't seen her at bantamweight is the thing. So we'll see how her skills translate down at this weight class. But like I said, if the weight cut goes good, everything goes good, it's just hard to imagine her not winning this fight and winning it pretty one-sidedly as well. So I'm going to take Kayla Harrison. If she looks like crap on the scales, I'll still probably pick her, but I'm not laying minus 460 on her regardless. But yeah, she should win, and I'll take her to win this fight by decision. All right, moving on. We got Aljamain Sterling going against Calvin Kattar. A fun matchup here. We got Sterling, who's 34 years old, 5'7" with a 71-inch reach, 23-4 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Calvin Kattar 36 years old, 5'11" with a 72-inch reach, 23-7 and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. This opened up a pick'em. Sterling minus 110, Kattar minus 110. Sterling's currently the minus 170 favorite, and Calvin Kattar is a plus 145 underdog. So as you guys know, Sterling is coming up to the featherweight weight class, and welcoming him is going to be Calvin Kattar. And I guess I think this fight's a lot closer than it looks like people think. I mean, people are steaming Sterling all the way to minus 170. Like, this is not an easy matchup by any means for Sterling in his first featherweight fight here, because Calvin Kattar on paper has a 92% takedown defense. With that said, though, you look into it a little bit more, hasn't really fought a ton of guys trying to take him down, but when he has, he's been able to stuff a lot of these takedowns. He's going to have a 4-inch height advantage, a reach advantage as well. He's going to be the bigger fighter here. If Sterling's not able to take down Calvin Kattar, I don't think it's the end of the world for him, but I do favor Calvin Kattar on the feet here. I think in terms of the numbers, the numbers could be fairly similar, but all the power is in favor of Calvin Kattar. I like the boxing of Calvin Kattar, the volume that he brings to the table. Like, Calvin Kattar is a very high volume striker, landing 5.12 significant strikes per minute. And like I said, he's going to be the harder hitter here as well. And like I said, if he can stuff takedowns here, I think he can win some striking exchanges in terms of the minutes and moments here. I've seen some people say that Calvin Kattar's washed, and I mean, I couldn't really disagree anymore. Like, how's he washed? He got hurt in his last fight against Arnold Allen. He beat Josh Emmett. I'm not sure what the judges were smoking in that fight. I mean, he clearly beat Josh Emmett. The judges scored it the other way, split decision loss. And then prior to that, he beat everybody's favorite fighter in Giga Chikadze. Not only beat him, though, he destroyed Giga. I mean, that was just a vicious beatdown. So I don't think Kattar's washed or anything. But yeah, I think it's a close fight here. I think it's close. Like if Sterling can take down Kattar, get on his back, and you steal around her, that could happen. It's just I think Kattar's gonna be able to use that size, stuff some takedowns here, keep it on the feet, and win a pretty fairly close striking based decision. So I'm taking Calvin Kattar here. I'm taking Calvin Kattar to win this fight by decision. Moving on, we have almost skipped a fight. That'd been terrible. We got Aleksander Rakic going against Jiri Prochazka. We got Aleksander Rakic, 32 years old, 6'4", with a 78-inch reach, 14-3, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Jiri Prochazka, he's 31 years old, 6'3", with an 80-inch reach, 29-4-1, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. Another closely lined fight on this card, like many are. We have Rakic opening up a pick'em, -110, currently -120. We got Jiri opening up -110, currently +100. So it's an interesting fight here for me because I'm not the biggest fan of Rakic, never have, probably never will be. I just think I hate to say it, I mean, I think he's incredibly skilled. It's just his fights are kind of boring, to be honest. I mean, his last fight with Jan Blachowicz where he got hurt, not a ton was going on. He landed only 27 strikes through about 3 rounds. Against Thiago Santos, it was one of the worst fights I've ever seen. Went to decision, only landed 36 strikes in 15 minutes. Against Anthony Smith, had Anthony Smith dead to rights. Lays on him for 15 minutes. I mean, these last 5 fights for Rakic have been brutal to watch from a fan standpoint. He's having some success, but still against Volkan Oezdemir, boring split decision, lost that fight to Oezdemir there. So, and it's kind of like a clash of styles. Like Rakic, extremely talented, but really slows the fight down. Where Jiri is just a complete madman. He's insane. Something's wrong with the guy, but he's so fun to watch. So I'll never forget the debut with Jiri Prochazka, where he took on Volkan Oezdemir, and he goes in there and he's literally blocking punches with his face. And sometimes I'll joke and say, "Oh, this guy blocks punches with his face." He's the definition of blocking punches with his face. Like he literally was headbutting Volkan Oezdemir's punches, and at one point in the fight, he grabs his hands, puts them down to his waist, like interlocking his fingers, putting his hands down at his waist and blocking punches from Volkan Oezdemir with his face. Like that was his striking defense. And one of the announcers were like, "This guy's a madman." Yeah, he is. He's an absolute madman. And Volkan was able to hurt him in that first round, but Jiri was able to take over and finish him in the second. Against Dominic Reyes, Jiri got hurt a couple times in that fight, got flash KO'd on top, it looked like. In that fight. Against Glover Teixeira, got hurt multiple times in that fight as well. And then against Alex Pereira, got hurt a couple times in that fight and then knocked out in the second round. So, I mean, you're bound to get hurt. Like, if you block punches with your face in the light heavyweight division, like, these guys hit very hard, including Aleksander Rakic. So, I think Jiri's going to force a fight out of Rakic. I think this is going to be a great fight. I think it's going to be a very fun fight here. An absolute war, but if you're blocking punches, with your face and headbutting, punches and kicks, like I don't know if he's going to be able to headbutt an Aleksander Rakic head kick and just eat it. So I'm kind of leaning Rakic here. I'm not the biggest fan of the guy, like I said, but I think he does find the chin here of Jiri and knocks him out here in the first round. So I think it's gonna be a banger of a fight, but I'm taking Rakic to win this fight by first round knockout. Moving on, we have Arman Tsarukyan going against Charles Oliveira. We got Arman Tsarukyan, 27 years old, 5'7", with a 72.5-inch reach, 21-3, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Charles Oliveira, 34 years old, 5'10", with a 74-inch reach, 34-9, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We have Tsarukyan open up -200, currently -225. Charles Oliveira opening up +170, currently +190. And I'll be honest, guys, I'm kind of surprised at these odds. I mean, is Charles Oliveira a bum? I'm not sure. You take a look at Charles Oliveira, his last 13 fights, he's 12-1 in those 13 fights, and that one loss comes against Islam Makhachev. I mean, he was on a crazy run prior to that. And then he bounces back and knocks out Beneil Dariush in the first round, which is a great win. Beneil is a very good fighter. And now he's a massive dog to Arman Tsarukyan, who, don't get me wrong, is incredible. I'll never forget the debut of Arman Tsarukyan. He came in, I think on short notice at 21, 22 years old against Islam Makhachev, and clearly lost the fight, but showed that he belonged in that fight, had some moments in that fight. And I think that Arman and Islam will run it back in the future. I'm not sure when, but yeah, that was a great debut and a loss. And then since then, he's won every fight since then outside of the Garbrandt fight, and he potentially won the Garbrandt fight. So I get it. Arman's a very good fighter, and maybe he can win this fight. But I mean, just Charles Oliveira, you can't count this guy out against anybody. And you'll notice in a lot of Charles Oliveira fights, he's getting hurt early. He's getting dropped early. Michael Chandler hurt him. Dustin Poirier dropped him. Justin Gaethje dropped him a couple times in that fight. But he comes back and he's able to get the finish, later in the fight. He finished Michael Chandler in the second round. Finished Dustin Poirier in the third round. Finished Justin Gaethje late first round. So I could see a scenario where Arman Tsarukyan drops Charles Oliveira, but you got to kill Charles to get him out of there. Islam was able to capitalize. Was able to drop him. Was able to sub him, but Arman Tsarukyan, I'm not sure if he'll be able to as well. So I'm kind of liking Charles here as a pretty big dog to maybe get hurt early, maybe get dropped early, but, like Charles does, battle through some adversity. And why can't he hurt Arman Tsarukyan on the feet? Why can't he be the one to hurt Arman here? We just saw Arman Tsarukyan get hurt bad against Joaquim Silva. Joaquim Silva only landed 23 significant strikes in that fight, and one of those strikes wobbled Tsarukyan bad. He was very, very hurt. And if Charles hurts you, he's finishing you. So, yeah, I think Charles is a live dog here. I think Arman has a very bright future in the division. Obviously, he's only 27 years old, but I think Charles Oliveira is getting a little bit disrespected here. So I'm taking Charles Oliveira to win this fight, and I think he wins this fight by second round, club and sub. Speaking of getting disrespected, we have the biggest favorite in UFC history, Bo Nickal, going against the biggest underdog in UFC history in Cody Brundage. We got Bo Nickal, 28 years old, 6'1" with a 76-inch reach, 5-0, and 5-0 in his only 5 fights. Cody Brundage, 29 years old, 6 foot with a 72-inch reach, 10-5 and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds. Bo Nickal opened up minus 1,400, currently minus 2,300. Cody Brundage opened up plus 800, currently plus 1,100. So like I said, as far as I'm concerned, the biggest favorite in UFC history here in Bo Nickal. And it's hard not to pick him here. I mean, obviously, right? Like, he's a big favorite, but, in terms of wrestling, Cody Brundage has pretty good offensive wrestling. Defensive wrestling is a little bit iffy, but what I notice about Cody Brundage is that when he does get taken down, it has not looked great at all. Cody Brundage got TKO'd against Michał Oleksiejczuk. Oleksiejczuk was able to reverse, get on top, and TKO'd him shortly after. Against SD Dumas, I mean, it was a terrible performance from Cody. He didn't really show up, landed only 3 strikes in 15 minutes. Dumas had his back for like 3 minutes at one point. He had 11 minutes of control time. Like, if you're getting controlled 11 minutes against SD Dumas, I mean, that's a problem. Jacob Malkoun was on his way to TKOing Cody Brundage, lands a forearm to the back of the head. Fight gets called off. Cody gets the first round win via DQ. And just anytime we've seen him taken down and on his back, Rodolfo Vieira, which no shame in that, but Vieira subbed him. Maxima was able to take him down and control him. There's levels to the wrestling. Cody Brundage, obviously a wrestling background, but Bo Nickal has the much better wrestling here, and that's not debatable. So it's just hard to not see Bo Nickal taking down Cody Brundage, getting on top, and really doing whatever he wants. I mean, it could be a TKO, it could be a sub. I'm sure that's going to be a highly debated topic this week. Like, is it going to be a TKO or sub? Whatever he wants, really. So I'm not sure. But I think it's probably more likely sub. Bo Nickal, the majority of his wins do come by sub. He has, obviously, the knockout against Val Woodburn in his last fight. But, typically looking to get the fight down to the mat, get into a dominant position, and lock something up. So I'm saying Bo Nickal to win this fight. And I'm taking him to win this fight by first round submission. All right, let's get into these 3 title fights. The first of 3, we have the BMF title on the line. Justin Gaethje, Max Holloway in what is fight of the year contender between these two. 2 of my favorite fighters going at it. Justin Gaethje is 35 years old, 5'11", with a 70-inch reach, 25-4, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Max Holloway, 32 years old, 5'11", with a 69-inch reach, 25-7, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds. Justin Gaethje opened up minus 140, currently minus 175. Max Holloway opened up plus 120, currently plus 150, and I had a lot of fun looking into this fight. And I think a lot of people are going to reference the Dustin Poirier fight versus Max Holloway back in 2019, because that was the last time we saw Max Holloway at lightweight. And in that fight, in terms of the numbers, Max Holloway lands 181 significant strikes, Dustin Poirier 178. But you go back and watch the fight, Dustin Poirier rocks Max Holloway probably 4 or 5 times in the first round. Max Holloway was having some trouble dealing with the power up at this lightweight division, which all these guys hit very hard, including Justin Gaethje, we'll talk about. And then in the second round, Max gets hurt again. But as the fight goes on, Max Holloway starts to get into it a little bit more, land a ton of strikes. Max Holloway landed 42 in the fourth round, 53 in the second round. Tapers off a little bit in the fifth round, but it's still Dustin Poirier winning a lot of these rounds, just because Max Holloway's significant strike is a lot different than Dustin Poirier's significant strike, which like I said, these lightweights hit a bunch harder than Max Holloway. So I think that certainly could be a problem here with Justin Gaethje. But I could definitely see a scenario here where Holloway's able to weather a little bit of a storm here. Like, we've seen Gaethje broken in fights before. We saw him broken against Dustin Poirier in the fourth round. Eddie Alvarez in the third round. So if Max Holloway can push a pace and keep that pace up, which he will, is Justin Gaethje going to be able to go out there and keep up with Max Holloway? I think in the early going, you got to favor Justin Gaethje, and I think Gaethje could potentially even knock out Max Holloway or knock him down, which is crazy to say because Max Holloway is the most durable fighter of all time, in my opinion. This is a guy that's absorbed thousands of significant strikes, and not only has he never been knocked out, he's never been knocked down, but Gaethje is going to hit him very hard here. So I could see Gaethje knocking him down, but as the fight goes on, I think that pace, that pressure, that volume of Max Holloway could certainly give Justin Gaethje some problems here. Max Holloway's not going to slow down for 25 minutes, whereas Gaethje, he might. So I kind of like Holloway here as a dog. I think he can weather a little bit of a storm, probably gets hurt early on, but I think he's going to keep pushing through, battle some adversity. And in terms of durability, Max Holloway, the most durable fighter of all time. And Justin Gaethje, he's been finished 4 times, twice by strikes, Alvarez and Poirier, twice by sub, Khabib and why am I blanking on this? Oh, Oliveira, right? So Max Holloway's never been knocked out. So I'm taking Holloway here. I'm taking Holloway to weather that early storm, pressure, land a ton of volume, and get Gaethje out of there in the later rounds. So give me Max Holloway to win this fight, 4th round knockout, fight of the year contender. This is going to be a banger. This fight is not going to be boring. I think somebody gets served. It's pure violence, but I'm taking Max Holloway to win this fight by 4th round knockout. All right, next we have the strawweight title on the line. Zhang Weili going against Yan Xiaonan. We have Zhang Weili. She's 34 years old, 5'4", with a 63-inch reach, 24-3, and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Yan Xiaonan, 34 years old, 5'5", with a 63-inch reach, 17-3, and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Zhang Weili is a big favorite. I think the second biggest favorite on the card behind Bo Nickal. Zhang Weili opened up minus 310. She's currently minus 500. Yan Xiaonan is opened up plus 260. She's currently plus 375. I've seen a lot of people pick Yan Xiaonan already. I completely disagree. I mean, this should be Zhang Weili here all day. I mean, it's easy to break down, right? Like, Yan Xiaonan, great striker, love the striking, all that. It's just she has a huge hole in her game, and that hole is the ground game. I'll never, ever get it out of my head. I don't care how long ago it was. It was like 2-3 years ago. I'll never get out of my head the Carlos Esparza fight. Esparza took her down, and Yan Xiaonan made Carlos Esparza look like Khamzat Chimaev out there. It was a brutal beatdown. Carlos Esparza should not be doing that to anybody in the UFC ever, but she did it to Yan Xiaonan. I'll never get that out of my head. And since then, she went out there and lost to Marina Rodriguez, striker. She beat Jessica Andrade by knockout, striker. And she did beat Mackenzie Dern, grappler, but even Dern was able to take her down twice, rack up 10 minutes of control time, put her into 2 bad spots. Dern had her in an arm bar and head and arm choke, and to her credit, she was able to get out of those bad spots, but still just being put there to begin with, not the best look, as Zhang Weili unlike Mackenzie Dern, Zhang Weili can get fights down to the mat, pretty easily. She's very physically strong. Her wrestling's good. Her top control's very good. Her ground and pound's very good. She has a sneaky submission game as well. So yeah, I just kind of feel like it's a terrible matchup for Yan Xiaonan. I think for Zhang Weili to lose this fight, she's going to have to come in here with the worst game plan in UFC history, and that would be strike with Yan Xiaonan for 25 minutes. And even if she does that, I'm not even sure she loses, that type of fight. Zhang Weili's striking is very good. It's just she's a big favorite because she has such a clear path to victory with the ground game. So I think Zhang Weili goes out there and smashes here. I think she takes this fight down to the mat, rinse and repeat, beats up Yan Xiaonan, and eventually forces a stoppage in that third round. So I'm taking Zhang Weili to win this fight. I'll take her to win this fight by third round at knockout. And now we have the main event. If you guys have not already, be sure to comment down the significant strikes combined between Alex Pereira and Jamahal Hill doing the big giveaway. Top 3 get a prize there. But yeah, looking forward to this main event. Alex Pereira, he's 36 years old, 6'4" with an 80-inch reach, 9-2 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Jamahal Hill, 32 years old, 6'4" with a 79-inch reach, 12-1. And 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We have a closely lined fight here where Alex Pereira opened up -155, currently -125. Jamahal Hill opened up +135 and currently +105. And this is a tough fight for me to break down and pick, to be honest. I dug deep into this one, and there's some things we need to talk about. The first thing is Jamahal Hill coming off of a nasty injury, big surgery. Not too long ago, I don't think. It feels like, it wasn't too long ago. So I'm kind of worried about that. What is Jamahal Hill going to look like after that gruesome injury? Jamahal Hill's not fought in a while as well. The last fight was against Glover Teixeira, I think almost 2 years ago at this point. It's a long time ago. And then as far as like Alex Pereira, he's getting up there in age. He's 36 years old, almost 37 years old. Could be on a potential decline, it looks like a little bit. Still going out there and winning fights. He beat Jiri, which is great. The Jan Blachowicz fight wasn't the best look, and then he got knocked out by Adesanya, but was looking okay up until then. So I don't think he's like washed or anything like that, but he is getting up there in age. He's 37 years old. The decline will start to come for Alex Pereira. And then another thing I want to mention is, like, I was looking into Jamahal Hill's record, and it's like, I was like, who's the best striker that Jamahal Hill's fought? Is it Darko Stosic? No, it's not. Is it Klidson Abreu? Absolutely not. Is it OSP? No. Is it Paul Craig? No. Jimmy Crute? No. And then it's like, okay, is it Glover Teixeira, Thiago Santos, who's like has looked horrible the last several years, or Johnny Walker, who has no chin? I'm not sure. Like, it's like this is gonna be the best striker that Jamahal Hill's fought by a mile, and it's not even close. So that's a concern. But I went back and watched Jamahal Hill's fights, and I was really impressed with this striking. This guy has incredible volume, incredible durability. His hand speed's insane. He's the younger fighter here. It's just that injury is kind of the one thing holding me back. But yeah, after digging into it a little bit more, I think Jamahal Hill's a very, very live dog here in this matchup, and I'm gonna pick him to win this fight. Is he gonna show up and look? Is he gonna show up and look terrible? I hope not. I'm hoping he's coming in here fully prepared, recovered from his injury, the surgery. I'm hoping he comes in here fully prepared, and if so, he's gonna be the younger fighter here. He's going to be the higher volume striker. I think he's gonna be the more durable fighter here as well. So at plus money, I'm gonna pick Jamahal Hill to win, and I think he probably knocks out Alex Pereira. I think in terms of durability, Hill's shown to be the much more durable fighter. Whereas Alex Pereira, we've seen the durability kind of fade as of late. So I'm taking Jamahal Hill to win this fight, and win this fight by second round knockout. There you guys have it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys could, please leave a like on your way out. Subscribe to the channel. Looking to get 25K subs in the hopefully the very near future. Check out the prize picks. Use that promo code DFSBTN. Now's a great time. Justin Gaethje, I'm almost certain he lands a strike this week. I mean, come on. So check out the promo DFSBTN and get yourself that free square with Justin Gaethje. Check out the website dfsbythenumbers.com. I'm going to be getting out a lot of early content. All prepped for this week already. Got all the research out of the way. It's going to be dropping some early content there, early articles. A couple bets already out already, so check that out as well. And other than that, best of luck for UFC 300. Be on the lookout for more content, betting, DraftKings, prize picks throughout the week. On Instagram, I've been doing those reels. My Instagram's DFS by the numbers. I'll be putting out some more content throughout the week as well. So yeah, big content week for me. some guest appearances. It's going to be fun. So it's going to be a fun card, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. Best of luck for UFC 300. We'll talk to you guys soon. See you later.